ever looked at your life and thought, I'm all over the place? One minute you are taking a new course, another minute you are volunteering, then letting go of your job, then taking scuba diving lessons, then volunteering, then wondering, what am I even doing? Well, this week I have a realization in my own life. You see, about 7 years ago, I want to say, maybe a little longer than that, I started a blog on personal finance. I've been through an horrific personal experience, and I thought that writing about it would be a good thing. And then I decided to do a business course. And then I decided to do a coaching certification. Well, two actually, because why not? And then I decided to start an online magazine. And then I decided to start a membership. See? And, I always thought about each of these things as individual things, like they wouldn't go together. And I always felt divided on where should I be spending my time? Should I focus more on the magazine? Maybe it should be on coaching, the blog, maybe the membership, maybe whatever else was going through my mind. And I thought I wanted to start, another business, another thing to do. And last week, I realized that it actually came together nicely. And I hadn't even realized it, which is the beauty of all things, if I may say so myself. You see, today I have the magazine, LM Magazine. It's my baby. And that's mostly how people get to know me, get in contact with me, and learn that I even exist in the online world. And so they get the magazine, somebody forwards it to them, they see it on social media, a friend got featured and posted about it, and they get to know the magazine. And then, so it's a free magazine, and so they want to get it every month to see what's going on. So they subscribe to my email list. That's how they come into my world. Once they're in there, I tell them about my podcast and my YouTube channel here. And then I tell them about what else I do. I do a workshop. I have the Circle, which is a membership where I help midlife women who are starting a business. I hold their hand from starting until they get going. And so it all fits together very nicely. And I'm no longer torn where I should be spending my time because I actually have it all there. It's the magazine, my free magazine, available to anybody. If you haven't subscribed yet, well, maybe consider doing so. And then I have the email list, and then they learn about whatever I do, the podcast, the YouTube. Then they learn about my workshops and about my circle, the membership, and all the things. And suddenly, I don't have these 4 different things that I need to focus separately on. I have one ecosystem, one thing that is from one thing to the next, to the next, to the next. Now, the thing is, I realize that this is exactly the same thing that happens with our personal lives. Because, I talk about clarity all the time, and people want to have clear pictures, clear steps before they move. But this, once again, comes to prove that clarity comes when we do take steps to move in whatever direction we are moving, mostly forward, I want to say. So I only got to the business as it is today and have this ecosystem because I started all the things. I didn't know that by starting a blog, it would lead me to have a magazine. I no longer talk about personal finance only, although I do touch on it because it's my story. It's something that is very dear to me. And I want everybody to know that they're not alone, but that's just who I am. And so I do talk about it, but it's not my central thing. Now my magazine is. I also talk about starting businesses and supporting women who are doing so. And I talk about it in my magazine as well. And so you see, all of these things, I didn't know that by starting the magazine, I would join all the things there. It didn't even start to be a lifestyle businessy magazine, if you will. It started as a very specific magazine. It was to create content and create resources so that coaches could use them with their own clients. And very, very quickly it changed, but it only changed and evolved because I took that first step of starting a magazine. Okay. I didn't know I would have a membership. Here we are. Because these women that started reading the magazine, they asked, well, how can you help us more? Because yes, we like that, but we need actual support. We need accountability. We need to learn how to actually build a landing page, because everybody is talking about just do this, that, and that. You don't want to start a business, create a landing page, give a freebie, do this, but no one is actually telling people or showing them how to create a landing page, where to create a landing page. And so they wanted to know all of this, and I started the membership. So that's what we do in there. I teach them how to start a podcast, how to, what resources they have available, paid and free. It depends on where they're at in their own business. Okay. And so because I took one step, something else showed up, and then something else showed up. And some things I don't do anymore, like writing the personal finance blog, although I do write a little bit about it in magazine. That's really not what I do anymore. But I wouldn't have known that hadn't I started the blog. I started writing with that blog. I absolutely love writing, but that's where it all began. And so now there's the magazine, and with the magazine, I get to meet a lot of people, amazing people, and I get to collaborate with amazing people. And then I get to be featured in other people's podcasts. I get to write for other people's magazines, for other people's blogs about my experience, about what I do, about what I'm passionate about, actually, which is my business, if you haven't realized that yet. And so it all started because I took action. I didn't know what would happen, but that's what happened. And I've seen that in our personal lives, that's what happens as well. Sometimes clarity is simply what we discover after we've been on this path for some time. Maybe the woman that starts walking every day realizes after 6 months that she'd love to be a wellness or a health coach. Maybe the woman who joins a book club meets her business partner or her life partner. Maybe the person that starts journaling finally figures out why they've been so sad or so depressed and what's behind all of that. Now, all of these things don't happen because each of these people had a plan. They happened because they took a step, they started something. And they didn't know what was going to happen. They didn't know they were going to figure out, why they've been sad, or that they really wanted a career change, or that they would meet that awesome person. They just started it because they were just called to do it. They felt it was probably a good idea, or they just didn't know what to do and they just took action. And again, it's not aligned action at this point. It's just any kind of action. And so today I'd really like to leave you with one thought. If you are waiting for your whole life to start to make sense, stop waiting. I bet you knew I was going to say that. Just take that next step, whatever it is, because you don't need to see the whole picture. You just need to take the action that you feel called to take today. It's as simple as that. And nobody tells us this. I get it. People, always tell you to think about it, think again, ask wiser people, ask people who know best, ask older people. But guess what? These people, and I'm not saying they don't know, and I'm not saying they don't have valuable information. I'm saying they are not you. They don't know what's going on in your heart. They don't know your deepest desires. They don't know what you are longing for. And for the most part, we don't say it out loud because we are afraid of other people's comments or reactions. So we keep it to ourselves. But, maybe you are joining that book club because you are longing for connection that you don't have right now. And when you join that book club, you realize how much you absolutely adore those discussions with the people there. And so you start a YouTube channel and you start talking about all the books that you read and giving your point of view. Or maybe you create a round table with the people to talk about that book, or maybe a podcast. Maybe you start a blog because you love reading, but guess what? You realize that you enjoy writing so much. And it wouldn't have happened had you not joined the book club. Do you see where I'm going with this? And I'm talking about the book club like I talked about my blog and about, all the things. So it really isn't about waiting for that right step. It really is just starting. Anywhere, anything. I started, I joined a group because I wanted to start networking, and I didn't feel that I was comfortable networking. And so there was this group of personal development where they had this meeting once a week. And so I thought, I'm going to give that a try because why not, right? I mean, they talk about mindset a lot. Let's just see what it's all about. I absolutely loved it. I've had the most wonderful breakthroughs in that group. And guess what? I have my own mastermind inside my membership. I do a lot of things that I get all these ideas. And I didn't know that that was going to happen when I joined that group. The people are amazing, but I only got to know that and learn that because I joined. I didn't know them before. And so most of them have become great collaborators of mine. We've collaborated in a lot of things. I've been able to support some of them with what I do. And I think that what I really am saying today is don't wait for things to come and meet you where you are. Make it halfway. You give a little and it will come a little as well. And I've been reading and listening and watching a lot of things about manifestation. And the main point everybody does, like everybody is in agreement when they say you need to take action, any action. And so that's what I'm saying to you today, right? I really want you to take that step, take that action. Even if you don't know even why you're taking, but you feel called to do that, do it. Because you take one step forward and you're going to see a little bit more, a little bit longer. Just take action, take that step. It really is important. And especially if you are a midlife woman, if you really want to make a change, if you really want to be the change, if you want to show up for yourself, do it. And it can be as easy as setting 30 minutes, 3 times a week for you to read, to journal, to go on a walk, whatever it is, to go have coffee by yourself. Don't underestimate that because you start to get clear. You start to see the next thing. Your desires will show up if you give it time. And so I want to tell you today, take that action, do the thing, take the step. Now, I'd like to know, have you ever looked back and realized that something which made no sense at all when you did it, like a step you took, anything you did, and it absolutely turned out to be the thing that changed everything for you? Do leave me a comment. I would love to know more about it.